Welcome back to Clay with Cooper. Today I'm going to be talking about the 3 S's, so score, slip, and smooth. These are the 3 primary ways to join clay when you're trying to attach 2 different things of clay, and this is going to come in really handy for all of those perfect projects, anytime you're using a coil project, and just anytime you're trying to attach 2 pieces of clay. So the first one we're going to talk about is score. So what I want you to think about with the 3 S's is that these are basically techniques that are going to help you to get 2 things. Sorry, my cat is chasing her tail. To get 2 things to attach to each other without them falling off. So, for example, let's say we're trying to attach a handle onto this little pinch pot that we just made. So, first of all, I'm going to make my handle. Just make like a little coil. So if I just, wanted to attach it, boom, it's not going to be the most sturdy. It's, going to fall off. Obviously, you wouldn't hold it like that until it's been fired anyways, but you want to help yourself be successful and help your handle to stay attached, right? So first thing you're going to do is score. So what I want you to think about is a good way to remember score is think about sports, right? Think about keeping track of points in a game, so say the score is 1-1. So think about lines. Think about, if you're keeping track of score, you're writing down lines, and scoring is just that. It's kind of making marks to make the surface not smooth so that the marks can act as kind of like teeth to help grab onto each other versus just 2 smooth things trying to attach to each other. Let me see what I have in here. So I've got my needle tool, or you probably have your paper clip at home. So I'm going to score everything that I'm going to attach, so all the surfaces. So I'm going to start with my teacup, and I'm just going to think about making like a hashtag, right? So I'm just going to make some lines to rough up the surface so that it can attach, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the handle, okay? So I'm just going to kind of make some lines here, okay? And that is to, again, so that they can kind of grab onto each other. So think about it as like teeth that are interlocking, okay? So that's score, so that's going to be your number 1. And then the second one is slip. So slip is a watery clay that is used as like a glue to kind of hold things together in the meantime until it's fully attached. So the best way to make slip is to take some of your discarded clay. So like I've got some, dust from taking my clay out of the clay bag earlier. Actually, take this just bowl because I don't have a smaller one. So again, you can make do with whatever you have lying around. You should have those 2 Tupperwares, right? So that 1 Tupperware that you've been putting over your sink to catch any clay as you're washing your hands, this is now going to be your slip container. So a great way to make slip. So for example, like made a big mess here already, I have all this clay dust. So take that that credit card or whatever plastic and just kind of scrape some of your clay dust off of your fabric swatch into this bowl, right? And that should give you like a decent amount of slip. And then another thing that you can do is just take a bit of clay and put it in the water, and it should turn into slip relatively quickly. I'm just gonna kind of smush it in. This is not ideal, right? Because you don't wanna be taking like brand new nice clay that you spent all this time wedging and just turn it into slip. But slip can always be turned back into like a nice glob of clay. So I'm just kind of like doing my thing here, making this. So ideally, the slip should kind of like come on its own, and just you should accumulate some slip after the first couple times you've worked with clay. And if not, like boom, I just made some relatively quickly. Obviously, I wouldn't use a gigantic bowl like this. I would use a smaller one just because you don't need this much. Like I'm actually going to pour some water out just so I can get it to be a little bit more, I don't know, slip-like, for lack of a better term. So I'm trying to think if I have some from some past clay. This is a different color clay, but it's the same. No, it's dried out. Okay. That's a big tub of it. But, Okay, so slip is like this watery clay. It should be a little bit thicker than this, but we're gonna make do with what we have for now. So slip, I'm gonna put onto the parts that I have scored on my piece, again, just like as a temporary glue to kind of help hold it on, okay? And then I'm gonna take my pieces and I'm gonna gently press them on together. And that slip, so if you're thinking about score, slip, smooth, the score is those teeth that grab onto each other, and then the slip fills in the gaps so that it's like a more solid front, rather than, again, just sticking it on there and then maybe there's some air holes or some gaps or whatever, okay? So score, hashtag marks, slip, that watery clay that you make, using your reclaim, and then smooth is that final process to make everything stay attached and also to look nice, right? So this is where you're gonna kind of get creative. I really like a wooden tool, so again, you could use, you can just use your hands, or you can use like an old popsicle stick, or again, like plastic silverware from like fast food restaurants is great. For now, I'm just gonna use my hand because this is the tool that most of us have. Okay, so I'm just gonna take my finger and I'm gonna kind of press the edges of that handle onto the cup that I've made, and then I'm gonna kind of smooth it out with my finger. A paintbrush is great for this too, and I will be giving everyone a paintbrush, fingers crossed, pretty soon. Okay, and so I'm just kind of pressing the edges all the way down so that there's not any, you don't want to see any seams, right? You don't want to see where two things are joined because air can get in there and then it can dry out and then it can fall off. Okay, so I did all of that just with my hand with a little bit of water on it. And if you're someone who has like acrylic nails, the back side of a nail is actually a great tool. I don't have any nails, but I'm going to use what I've got here. Okay, or again, like I love like a good wooden tool. This one has a little curve and it just gives me like just that little, just like a little bit stronger. Sometimes I feel like my hands are too large to be like smoothing into some of these surfaces. So just kind of smooth that in. And obviously this isn't the best looking handle you've ever seen in your life, but boom, that's your handle. Don't hold it by the handle until it's been fired, right? Because it is plastic and it will still break. But it's way better attached than just sticking it on there. And this will ensure that your cup handle can stand the test of time. For example, like here, pause for a tea break. That handle is on there. You can see that it's been smoothed on and there's no gaps. And so, mine is almost as good as that one. So there you go. So that's the 3 S's of joining clay. So score, hashtag, teeth to grab onto, slip is that watery clay that you make with your reclaim, and then smooth is that final process of smoothing everything out. So go ahead and practice this anytime you are attaching pieces of clay, especially when you move on to coil or when you're remaking your teacup and saucer so that your handles stay attached. All right, that's all. Thank you.